What's your creative process? No, I'm not talking about that Institute of Higher Learning that told you that this is the creative process. That institute that you paid anywhere from $50 to $500,000 to convey to you that seemingly profound knowledge. I'm asking based off of your experiences, based off of what feels more smooth and natural to you. What's your creative process? Because I'm going to tell you this. It's some people that really think they have a problem with learning. Learning has always been tough to them. And unless they have that part in them, that persistence, that ambition, that's going to be a tough road to hoe, like the people in the country used to say, and to get over that. If learning is a problem to you and you don't either have it innate in you or you didn't put forth the personal development in order to develop that persistence, that ambition to proceed and pursue and overcome failure, it's going to be tough. Because a lot of people don't have that innate skill, that innate ability. They have to work toward it because it's necessary. Smart ain't enough. So if smart isn't enough, definitely someone who thinks they're not smart, it's going to be real tough. But what if I told you maybe you could have saved that 50 to 500 grand? And this is not going to be a conversation about whether you should go to college or not. No, we're not having that conversation. In my opinion, the only people who should go to like institutes like that are people who are going to be specialists specialists such as a doctor, an attorney. An accountant. That's legal, that's physical and mental, and that's financial. You want those people to know everything, guys. Listen, you got my liberty, my rights, my body, my mind, and my bank account. I need you to go to school. But other than that, in my opinion, hey, maybe if you knew a better way to learn, it may have kick-started something else. Because once you know a better way to learn, you pick up a better way to create. Your creative process. I knew somebody once, very, very creative. But sometimes you need to do things in order to stimulate some cash to give you time to be as creative. Because listen, that starving artist thing might look good on the movies, but we don't got time for that. You need to have some income coming in while you're handling this, and you got to look at it where you keeping your expenses down, income up, or maybe you got high expenses but you just have a high income. But sometimes in order to get jobs like that merit a high income, you have to get licenses. And sometimes in order to get licenses, you have to take exams. And if you're somebody who's always thought that you had a hard time learning things, it becomes a limiting self-belief about yourself. And because you've always been trying to use the process, the quote unquote creative and learning process that you were taught by these schools, not just higher institutions, but from elementary school to middle school to high school on up. This is how we do this. This is how we do that. Oh, I do it this way. No, that's not the right way to do it. So sometimes if you are a creator, if you're somebody who makes music, instead of learning and trying to learn that exam how they told you to learn that exam, why don't you take significant sections and make songs out of it? Because you might not be able to remember that book, but you can remember that song you made 5 years ago. Why is that? Go to the exam, the way that, all right, so this is how I do it. Whenever I'm taking a standardized exam, I go to the part of when I'm studying, usually in the books that you're studying to take a standardized exam, there's a section in the book that breaks down the percentages of each part of this book that you have that'll actually be in an exam. So you might have one section that says law and ethics, and it'll say law and ethics is 10% of this exam. And then it might say, for example, my industry, one might be residential home insurance. And it might say residential home insurance is 40% of this exam. And then so on and so forth. So if I'm somebody that's trying to pass a test and I get to the law and ethics portion and it's dried in the Sahara Desert, it is drier than the Sahara Desert. Your tongue is turning into a piece of wet cotton just thinking about it. But if I went to the back of that book and saw that law and ethics was just 10% of this exam, I probably wouldn't even look at it. And law and ethics is important, very important. There's a difference between law and ethics. But if it's only 10% of this exam, I got to pass this license so I can get the business. I got to handle this red tape. I'm not going to waste my time reading 5 chapters of something that I'm not even interested in. That's only 10% of an exam. All I need is 70% to pass. And I got one section that's somewhat interesting and it's making up 40% of the exam. I'm going to take my time on that section. And when I get to that section, I'm not just going to be reading stuff, writing it down, trying to learn it. No, I'm going to use whatever my skill is that comes natural to me as a mechanism so that I remember this thing forever. So if you're somebody that makes music, make a song out of that material. If you're somebody that makes paintings, make a portrait out of that material. Make a landscape out of that material. With your material. That mental material, turn it into physical, creative material. And so now you just use your innate creative process to learn better. Okay, now that you're learning better, you're going to create. Because here's the trick, people. If you're trading your time for money, if that's just what you like, cool. But trading your time for money never works. I make $15 an hour. I make $37 an hour. I make $50 an hour. I make $100 an hour. I make $150 an hour. I make $250 an hour. I make $500 an hour. Even if you make $1,000 an hour, that's an hour. It's finite. You only got so many hours. But when you create something, oh yeah, you making money in your sleep. You're not on the hour system anymore. You're on the did I accomplish the goal for you system. And if I accomplish the goal for you, it doesn't matter how long it took me, whether it took me 2 months or 1 minute. Did I accomplish your goal? Good. Pay me this amount. Okay, so now we're at this part where you have learned, you created mechanisms, mnemonic devices in order to learn better based off what's naturally the way you create your creative process. You use that in order to surpass and exceed this standardized exam that allowed you to get a professional license to make a higher wage than you would if you did not have any professional licenses. You're still on the hour system, but you're on a high hour system. But because you're on a high hour system, it allows you to take care of your life responsibilities, but also put money into creating something so you can get off the hour system onto the did I accomplish your goal system. One time there was this company, they had this engine that pretty much ran the whole factory. They could not figure out how to repair this engine. And every day that this engine was down, it was costing them thousands and thousands of dollars a day. So they bring in this specialist. The specialist gets there and he looks at it, he looks around, he takes some measurements, flash a light in a couple areas, and he goes to his case and he pulls out this big rubber mallet. He walks up to that engine and he strikes down on that engine at a specific location. And guess what? The engine starts. All in all, the specialist was probably there for 5 minutes. He invoices the company that seeked them out for 10 grand. And they are immediately like, 10 grand? What are you talking about, 10 grand? You were just here for 5 minutes. You want me to pay you $10,000 for 5 minutes of work? If you want us to pay it, you got to put together an itemized invoice of how you came to that number. The specialist had no problem. Said, okay. Put together the itemized invoice, and it said $1 to hit engine with rubber mallet. and $9,999 to know exactly where to hit it. You see, some people, you can't explain why what you do is valuable. And for others, you will never have to explain. They already know. Because what if that company had hired another person? Another person that charged them 10 grand, but it took him 30 days to figure it out. So in their minds, it took him 30 days. I can see why I should have to pay this man 10 grand. He's been reaching out to colleagues, reading books, studying peer-reviewed articles for hours on end a day to try to figure this out for us. He put a lot of time in. And we got to pay him for his time because his time is valuable. And after 30 days, that engine started. He ordered a rubber mallet from Amazon. It took only one day to get there because he was a Prime member. He ordered a new tape measure. He got out there, he figured it out. He converted the fractions into decimal and he typed them in the computer. And the computer printed him out a piece of grid paper. And the paper gave the exact longitude and latitude of that engine in order to strike it. And then it took him several experiments to figure out exactly what type of force applied to it. Because you can't do too little and can't do too much. He had to do several experiments once he even figured out exactly where to hit it. And it took him a couple tries with that. But all in all, same result. He was able to get it done. But I can see why I need to pay him 10 grand. But you? Well, let's think about this. If every day that your engine was down, you were losing $2,000 a day, that meant after 30 days, you just lost $60,000 in revenue that you would have got otherwise. And then another $10,000 on top of that to pay your specialist to figure it out. $70,000. Or somebody who already knows this, somebody who's been doing this for years at a high level, came in there and did it in 5 minutes, and now you only lost $10,000, that person's fee, because you were able to get back up and running immediately instead of waiting 30 days. Who deserves the $10,000? Like really, I think they both do. But should the guy who figured it out, guy or girl or woman or man or boy that figured it out, get penalized because they figured it out faster? You should be taking this person out for a steak dinner. You should name your firstborn child after people like this. So you figured out a better way to learn. And because you figured out a better way to learn, you're able to get professional licenses. And because you have professional licenses, you're making a higher hourly wage. And because you're making a higher hourly wage, you're able to take care of your daily life, but also create so you can get out of the hourly wage weight so you can put your specialty on display. But now you got all the way here. You done proved this. You got the money. You done proved yourself why you're somebody who should be able to tell other people how to do it. It took you 10, 15, 20 years to do it. And you're going to tell somebody on their first year. You're going to teach them this stuff on that first year. You're going to change their life. They're going to honor and respect you forever. But that's how you get out. So let's see. Now we got to create the product, right? But now all of a sudden, because you did things different, you're able to get these results. Now you got people who create telling you what's the creative process. No, this is how we create. That doesn't have to be how you create, though. This is how somebody might create. So there are some people who create to where they do all their research. They take a lot of outlines. They come up with exactly what they're going to say and how they are going to say it. They study it for weeks on into months. But and as soon as those lights are on, they are on it. They are executing at a high level. They have the material, the written material done before they even do the actual event. And that works for a lot of people, and that is the standard creative process. But what if you're somebody who doesn't have to do a lot of research? What if you're somebody who doesn't have to do some outlines and come up with everything and come up with exactly how you're going to say it? And what if you're somebody that as soon as the lights are on, you are on it? What if that's you? What if that's you? Maybe your creative process is to schedule events, record you at these events, being on it, then send that material to people who actually write these things. That's their thing. Now, instead of 2 months of studying, you've been and figuring, writing it out and rehearsing it. You've just been doing 2 months of events, recorded events. And then you take that paper, those recorded events, send it to people who like to write these type of things. People who like to write books. People who like to write instruction manuals, PDF manuals. Send it to them. That's their thing. That's what they enjoy. Now you have the written material. Now you have the book. You did it backwards. You didn't do it how they said you should do it. You did it in the reverse, and you're the better for it. So figure out what your creative process is, and I'm gonna be honest. For a lot of you who think that it's hard for you to learn, it's impossible for you to learn. For a lot of you that think it's hard for you to create, it's impossible for you to create. So for a lot of you who think it's hard for you to get out of that hourly wage race, it's impossible for you to get out. Come over here to the did I accomplish the goal side. And if you think you're one of those people, just look at how they say you should do it and do it in reverse and see what happens. This is Randolph Love III. I help business owners and homeowners avoid financial catastrophe and have the option of retiring comfortably in 10 to 15 years or less. You've been listening to the Entreprenudist podcast, a place to hear real entrepreneurs and business owners bear all. Let me know in the comments, let me know what you think about this episode.